Good evening, everyone. I'm Shivangi Desai, and I'm an 18-year-old who's pursuing her BA LLB from ILS Law College, Pune. And I'm very excited to be here. And the topic we are going to talk about right now is a very sensitive topic and a very relevant topic called marital rape. So that is my introduction. Over to you, Rahul.
Marital rape. Okay, a little bit about myself. Good evening. I'm Rahul. I founded my own company, The Daily Cafe, and we're working out of Chennai. As part of my work, I've had the opportunity to speak to majority men and women across the globe, offering them workout plans and providing them a healthy lifestyle while remaining at home. And something I've learned from this, and which I feel is like the initial crux of the topic we have today, when we're speaking to men, about procuring a healthy lifestyle, they're more open to the idea of becoming healthy. But when you speak to a woman about procuring a healthy lifestyle, it's not more about becoming healthy, but as to looking good. They feel like their bodies have to become accepted by society, or in case of married women, it's more like my husband has to accept my body. I feel like he doesn't look at me the same way anymore after my pregnancy or after multiple childbirths. And what I notice here is, and Shivangi, I want your opinion on this. Why is it that women feel like their bodies have to be accepted by their husband, which in turn provides this image to their husbands that the husband ends up thinking that, okay, my wife is only going to be happy if I accept her body and it is a part of or a right of something I own. Don't you think this is the starting point for it all?
It is. Now, the reason for this is that what I have seen and I have noticed that a lot of women, they see as their only life goal is to serve their husband, her husband and his family. And for centuries now, in fact, this practice is very prevalent right now also, that women are treated as property. They are a trophy to show off. So for a man, he can show off. There are three things he should be proud of. It's his property, his money, and his wife. So she's basically a trophy. And I think this leads to objectifying as a person, that she's looked as an object, as a property, as something one can show off instead of a person. So that is one of the reasons that not only contributes to the patriarchal idea of a man owning his wife, but that leads to a series of so many complicated things like domestic violence, marital rape, in fact, just because a woman is seen as a property and just something that is there to serve her husband.
Yeah, it's weird because in our country where women have spent an eternity sitting at home, it's often difficult for women who are successful in their careers to have an arranged marriage, because in the eyes of society they have defied gender expectations. And gender expectations, regardless of how forward our country tries to be, it's still disheartening to know that if a woman works harder than she's supposed to, or probably like demands salary or demands a pay grade that's equal to that of man, or negotiates a salary, she's seen as something else. They classify her as something, or like being out of books, or out of bounds in her own character. But my question is, like, how far are you going to try to oppress them, be it workplaces, or be it at their own houses, or be it wherever they exist? You try to oppress them because you need favors from them, but ultimately, don't you understand that they're unhappy? Like, don't you think, I mean, do you feel like people will never understand they're unhappy, or is it just that they're turning a blind eye towards it?
I think, see, one another thing is that in our country, sacrifices by women is something that is glorified.
Yeah.
Right now, if you look at a lot of guys whose mothers have suffered a lot, have sacrificed their own happiness for the sake of their family, children, husband, whoever it is actually glorified, and they see that as the ultimate standard. That
Yeah.
all right, nowadays women are not strong enough because they are prioritizing their happiness themselves over everyone else.
Yeah,
So we
that's
in
true.
fact live in a country, and not only in real life examples, this is something that has been glorified in our myths as well. If you see Mahabharat, you see Ramayan, it is always the female who's sacrificing herself.
Yeah, that's there.
So that
It's
is
weird
one
though.
thing.
It's weird though, isn't it? I mean, we're glorifying sacrifices, and people often think marriage or I am trying to say this, but marriage doesn't mean that, sex is approved by your parents and sanctioned by the state.
Exactly.
Sex is something that needs consent regardless of when and where, time and place. It is something that needs
Right. That is
consent
true.
regardless of what situation you're in. We're willing to discuss this in private forums, but not in public places, to actually be open about this. See, a very simple example, and I will not name them, but a family friend of mine who gotten married, like a couple of years back, and I still remember I was pretty very close to her, and she actually came and told me that she was shocked by the sort of demands her husband made during their private time and the kind of stuff he expected her to do. And this was shocking for her. And what got into my mind back then was, I'm not going to specify what he demanded of her, but it surprised me that he thought this was something normal to demand. And that is what surprised me. So it made me think about the roots of what a person or how a person thinks that you can demand something like this from another person's body, because ultimately everybody has their right to control their own bodies, right? But what
That's
do you
true.
think is the underlying cause that makes a person feel like they can demand something like this?
I think it's about the fact that a lot of people, men, are grew up with the idea of the fact to own their wives, own their wives or significant other. And in fact, it's not only men who are the problem. In terms, patriarchy or patriarchal ideas is something that is enjoyed by men, but it is enforced by women. In fact,
Yeah.
you see it everywhere. You see it. It's always the mother-in-law telling the daughter-in-law that you're supposed to behave in a certain way and sacrifice your own happiness for the sake of your family and everything. And that idea is rewarded with more responsibilities, which, to be very honest, does not make sense. That is one underlying
Mhm.
cause. And second cause is that even if we talk about not legalizing, decriminalizing marital rape and legalizing punishments for it, a lot of people have an argument saying that it'll tear apart families.
Yeah, why are we
So
so insecure? The thing is, no, I know what you're getting at here. Don't you really think if a person is insecure about criminalizing marital rape, it's because he actually feels like something he's done could be classified as rape at some point in his own history? It's just fear of being punished that's
exactly.
preventing them from criminalizing it. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It makes you think of a lot of things. It makes you think, is the institution of marriage, family, and everything in our country, which in fact India is known for, is actually based on a suffering of a woman? Is that what it is based on? It it that's why it came
Yeah,
such a long of things that if you say,
I think it kind of is because see, my own mother has come and told me that the reason, like, okay, so she got employed in a bank in a banking sector, and my dad was employed around the same time. And my mom often comes and tells me that the reason she had to quit the job was because she was pregnant with me. And then she chose to have the responsibility to, raise her child and bring me up and etc etc. But today, if I ask her, do you regret quitting the job, she tells me yes, because now I'm old enough to work, I'm doing my own thing, and now she feels like she has nothing to do with this planet other than, she's only learned cooking in the last 25 years and maintaining the house, and she finds it difficult to come back into the workforce or actually have her own social life. And her only social life is just me and my dad. And back then it was considered, a great thing she was doing. Not a great thing, it was the expected thing, and this is what you had to do. But in today's world where everybody is leveraging opportunities of every single place, I actually feel bad that this happened to her, and there's honestly nothing I can do about it. Have you had like
and
examples like
that's
this in your
true. That is
family?
even there's some people I see women around me. The first
Okay.
thing was when I decided to pick up law as a subject.
Okay.
There was some people, some relatives around me whose first question was, "Who's going to marry you if you to decide to study law?"
They really asked you that?
Exactly, because that question was now the thing is that in Indian society in general, people are scared of lawyers, especially if that's a female. They automatically put her in the category of bad women.
Oh, wait, so they think you'll question the husband more. Is that why they're scared?
Exactly.
Oh,
It's like you're aware of your rights, you're aware of everything, and they're scared. Ki, all right, anything we do to her, she's going to. She's going to put a case. She's going to sue them from and drag them to the court and everything.
Oh my God, that is so
That is
childish,
the
isn't it?
idea.
No, see,
It
don't you
is
think?
childish. It is surprising,
No, the thing is,
and at
no,
times it's scary also that they're scared of a girl who's aware.
yeah, because they really just expect the girl to be quieted down and just her to shut up and bear with everything. Because on some level, I think, see, I think the generational gap between our grandparents, our mothers, and us, our generation is that up until our mother's generation, I think they were more tolerant and they were expected to be tolerant and they were happy being tolerant and they were aware that. And I think men have reached a point where they know they can inflict this kind of damage in families and still get away with it on some level. And this brings me back to something I really wanted to talk about is pornography really spoils the mind of a teenager when it comes to thinking about sex. And this
It
is
does.
very true, very true. And I'll tell you how, because, you know, my cousin, my family friend's example, that was my cousin sister, I'm sorry, but, in my sister's example as well, what I realized as I dug deeper into this was boys, especially exposed to significant levels of pornography at a very young age, their ideas of sex and sexual acts are tainted with such graphical images that they think this is the kind of acts that need to be performed or expected of a woman when finally they come of age for something similar. It just, I think that's just where it comes to finally, because when a guy's mind has been tainted this way, he doesn't know what to expect. He thinks this is the normal thing to expect. And when he ends up, receiving something that's not close to what he expected, this is where the damage happens because he starts physically inflicting this pain on the woman because he thinks this is what she enjoys, you know?
Exactly. And it's not only physical pain, even blackmailing the other person, just saying things like, all right, this is not going to work out unless and until you give me what I want. Emotional blackmail. That also comes under rape because you're actually forcing someone, you're cornering someone to the point where they feel that it's either this or that.
Hmm.
And for a lot of women, divorce is something that they just cannot imagine because the social isolation takes place, even isolation from your own family once a woman is divorced. And the funny thing about this concept is that it's both the ways. Even
Hmm.
there are men out there who actually suffer, but the thing is they're not very vocal about it because of the idea of masculinity. They always see, okay, how can this happen? How can you suffer at the hands of your wife? Like, you're stronger, you're a man.
Yeah, it's considered childish if a man is emotional and if a woman is outspoken. And I don't know how, if it's like the
Exactly.
films that we see, if it's the films that we see where we have, we always have a damsel in distress and the man going in to rescue her, or if, people are just so hardened down by this idea that they don't think it can happen the other way around, because typical cinema that we see, it's still 3 to 4 guys going in to rescue a girl, chasing her around in different places, talking her around, following her till she finally accepts to fall in love with her. And we idolize these kind of things when we see them on films and, different forms of media. And I don't know, I feel like partly it's not their fault as well, but this is how we've
That's
been
true.
groomed from a very young age, you know, from the ages of, Tom and Jerry cartoons where,
Exactly, that's
there's
true.
two cats fighting for the attention of a female cat over there, where they're like offering her flowers and
Right.
cake and different things, and it's from a very young age, we've been seeing these kind of things. And I wouldn't say this is necessarily the cause, but you're priming yourself to thinking this way from a very young age. That
Exactly. In fact, there's so many movies out there that actually say that if a guy is abusing you in a way, whether that's emotional, mental, financially, or in fact physically, it's because he loves you. It is just his way of showing affection.
yeah.
So that's the thing. In fact, they say, okay, if this person is not giving you your financial freedom, he's taking over your life completely. It's because he cares about you enough to, not want you to work. Or maybe,
Oh,
it's okay. Boys are boys, it's just he gets intense sometimes.
oh,
The thing is, how long will we be making excuses like this?
Oh, excuses. Do you remember the time when a rape victim was actually asked to marry the perpetrator, thinking it would solve the issue?
Absolutely.
Like the
Because
day I
women
read
are
that,
sometimes blamed for it. They were like, maybe, you were not, being good to him or this thing. So maybe his emotions came out too intensely.
"Yeah, but how is marrying your perpetrator the solution to anything?" Like, see, I personally uh, have had the opportunity to speak to a rape victim, two of them actually, over the course of the work that I've handled. Believe me when I say this, life isn't the same once an incident like this actually happens to you. You find it difficult to eat,
That's
to
true.
sleep, to open your eyes, to talk to anybody in public, to just look up to someone and even demand something takes a physical toll on you because you're afraid of being
Right.
violated by them. And to think that
Exactly.
the absurdity in the idea of asking the victim to marry the perpetrator, that is absolute, you know,
That is a lifetime torture.
it is. I mean, imagine having to wake up to the same face knowing this is the same person that actually defiled you at one point of time. Because see, the thing is, I'm trying to understand the gravity or the, you know, trying to understand how underdeveloped the mind of the person was who suggested this.
Absolutely.
It's a little shocking, but
And this is a problem because if someone can do this when this thing has been criminalized with harsh punishments,
mm,
what if after it's no longer recognized by the law? What happens then?
but that
When
is
you're in a
scary.
situation, it's no longer. In fact, India is one of the 36 countries which do not recognize marital rape as a crime. There are so many countries out there which have strict rules against it. And it's surprising because all those countries are actually underdeveloped. And in
Wow.
India, where we see women as, we see them as goddesses. In fact, we have holidays dedicated to them. We talk about women empowerment. Does that women empowerment only is limited to the point where a woman is a professional? Is it like only limited to unmarried women?
See, that's the thing. The problem is, see, this married and unmarried women problem, it started during colonial rule. I think when we discussed this initially, it's called the doctrine of coverture. And this was adopted during colonial times where upon marriage, a woman's legal rights and obligations were, you know, sort of absorbed by her husband. She had no individual identity after that. She wasn't allowed to own property and probably own anything individually other than under the name of her husband. She was no longer an independent entity. And this is
Right.
kind of sad because I think we are following a similar model of this right now, because back then, I mean, let's not go into colonialism because they really messed us up over and over again. And, I think it's going to take us another 50 years to
Right.
come out of that. But right now, people have to understand that choosing whether to be sexually active or not, to have whether children or not, or to, whether you want to have children by having with the, obligation of marriage or without the obligation of marriage, it has to be done without facing violence and discrimination because this is the choice of that person alone. And nobody has the right to make this decision for that person. You
That's
know,
true. In fact, there are certain things right now, if you look at how the overall things have been going on, there are people who have considered live-in relationship same as getting married. So you're not getting the rights of the so-called legal rights you have as a wife, but at the same time, you have to do the duties of a wife. That includes giving the man whatever he wants and anytime he wants.
the very fact that this country recognizes a term called duties of a wife, it actually shows that there are expectations set on the woman as soon as she's engaged. There are no duties. She
That's
is
true.
bound to do what she wants to do. It's obvious no human being in their right mind would hurt another human being out of compulsion unless and until acted upon first. given that the circumstance, I think every woman is sane enough to make the decision of what she wants and what she doesn't want to do within the confines of her marriage. And I just think we're really afraid of offering women the freedom they deserve because some part of society is in itself scared of what she might be capable of achieving or doing. Don't you think?
That's true. That's absolutely true. In fact, every time a female goes for an interview, whether that's a job interview or any interview, the first question they ask you is that, are you planning to get married? Are you planning to start a family?
How
Because
is that
it's
part of
just
the interview?
assumed there. That's just assumed there that that should be your first priority.
Wait, so if you say you're getting married or you say you're going to have children, what does that do to your prospects of getting a job? Does it make it like less likely you'll get a job or it's like more likely you'll get a job?
It makes you, oh no, you are less likely to get the job. Because they just assume, ki, all right, if you're planning to get married, you have children, it is your obligation to serve your family, and you won't be focusing on job as much as you're supposed to.
Ouch, that's kind of sad.
So this is basically the underlying issue right here. The fact that we believe that institution of marriage is built upon at the cost of a female's expense, and that sacrificing so many things is what. Now the third argument I have seen against criminalizing marital rape is the fact that some women will misuse it. And to a certain extent, I do agree to it. But for every woman who might misuse the law, there are thousands, millions of women who actually need that law.
Yeah, that's true. That is because see, ultimately quoting from my own family and the experience of my friends, I've had I don't know, men think when they work a lot, they have all the stress from the jobs that they pursue in life, they need a break from family, and oftentimes they fail to understand that the woman who is raising the family on her own needs a break from this too, needs something to do on her own. And oftentimes, like I've spoken to my uncles, my, my the brothers of my, various family friends and everything. And what I often notice is men take these solo trips away from their family and they're like, oh, too much stress from work, too much stress from family, I need to be all alone. And they take these solo trips and they fly like halfway across the world to find peace. And the woman is still left with the family, having to take care of them and having to handle the man's, if he's running a business, his temporary affairs or his permanent affairs there, and she's handling the entire thing on her own. And the man is like away from home.
Exactly.
And
That's true.
and this is just incredible amount of pressure on a housewife to do all of this repeatedly when she's probably like her parents have taken care of her in like an exquisite manner and she's having to do this ever since the day of marriage, and it just wears them out over a period of time. The sort of like the laughter, the sort of freshness they had during the initial phases of marriage, over time you can start to notice that it's wearing them out. They've become like these old worn out
That's true.
machines that just need some rest now. And I don't know, man, personally thinking of all this, I do not want to get married in this country that has so many expectations on me if I choose to get married. It's a little scary. Not scary for me, it's scary for
In
the girl
fact,
who's going to come into the
because of
family.
this, exactly. Because, see, if we think about all these things, this also leads to so many health issues. In fact, there's something known as the husband stitch, which is basically after a woman gives birth, they have this extra, they just give an extra stitch to ensure that, the husband, that the sexual intercourse is still enjoyable for the husband. This leads to so many health complications, including death. And this is a shocking practice that is still in India and actually makes you think that, all right, so is a man's need and desire over a female's life? In India, we always uphold Article 21, which says right to life. But then, does that stop after you get married as a female?
Yeah, feels like it does, right? I mean, in some communities in our country, I think, not going to name them, but I've read about a lot of this, and distant friends have said they've experienced this in their families as well. But if a girl in the family chooses to engage in sexual intercourse before marriage, there's usually a hymen replacement surgery done where the woman's hymen is restored to ensure that her sanctity is kept while her hand is given
Right.
away in marriage. It's almost like the family or the entire community around her feels like the lady itself has been tainted if she chooses to indulge in sexual intercourse before her marriage. And what the hell, man? Like having to repair a biological
Scariest
part of your
part right
body.
now,
Go on.
the scariest
Yes,
part
Saraswati.
is that all these practices are actually endorsed by people who are in power,
Yep.
whether that's the executive, legislature, judiciary, all the three organs. There are people right there who think it's completely fine to make public statements endorsing such things.
It's
Endorsing
starting to
such things. And I
it's
have the
starting to
highest
happen. Yeah.
respect for, our government and everything. But this is something I disagree with. That it is not okay for all these things to do. So, in conclusion, I would only say that marital rape is something that can go both ways. The victims can be male or female, the perpetrator can be male and female. But at the same time, most number of victims are females because of the underlying patriarchal ideas that we have had from generations, and it's high time we start changing it. And I hope the country someday we achieve and finally criminalize marital rape.
Yeah, I hope so too. We talk about we need an evolution of people's mindset, but it's really not evolution. We need a sexual revolution, because we often think people have it easy living through this entire experience but believe me when I say this, lives change. Their beliefs change, their notions and personalities, they become completely different people before and after such an incident. We only tend to realize the extent of the change that's happened when this happens to anybody in our closest vicinity, or let's probably to say ourselves, worst case. And given you're able to experience something like that, you will not be able to come out of it because you will see what happens to that person. And believe me, it's not something you would even wish on your worst enemy. Let's try to forge a path
That's
on our
true.
own, because our country's challenges are very different from countries close by or the countries around us, considering how our population is from different places,
Absolutely.
different religions, and so many castes and everything involved. But ultimately, the right of a person has the right to control his or her own body. It's theirs and it's their decision what they want to
Exactly.
do with it. And I really believe
Like,
we can make tremendous change as youngsters in this country. So if you watching this, anybody watching this, feel like you can and you'll be able to support someone, please do. Thank you.